Hello, Lisa here. Welcome to my reading table and welcome to today's episode of Learn to Read Tarot with me. This is a super fun series, but first off, if you're new here, welcome. I like to make videos all about tarot and tarot adjacent topics and such. So if that is your jam, then I hope you'll stick around with us. Learn to Read Tarot with me is a series that came about as a result of feedback I got when I was doing my Tarot with Training Wheels series and when I created my Tarot Bootcamp for Beginners course. Both of these tools I created for new readers to sort of get their feet under them with starting to read tarot. Unlike Tarot with Training Wheels and Tarot Bootcamp for Beginners, Learn to Read Tarot with me is not about individual card meanings so much as it's about bringing you into my brain while I do an actual tarot spread. And sometimes I pull in Oracle like we're going to be doing today, but I do a spread and I walk you into that process with me so you can see how I'm interpreting the cards in real time in an actual situation. So sometimes it's an organic type of reading, sometimes it's a spread, and we look at sort of different angles of reading tarot beyond just the basic single card meanings. So that's kind of the point of this. And today we're doing something extra fun because at the time I'm filming this, I just had my birthday, and one of the requests I had for this series some time back was to do a birthday spread. So today we're going to be doing a 5-card birthday spread using these two decks, and there's a reason for these deck choices as well. If you're not new to my channel, you've definitely seen the Mons Tarot on my channel a bunch. This is like my soul deck, or the deck that I feel the most bonded to of all my tarot decks. In its own special way, the Mons Tarot just speaks my speak, and I love that. So this is very much, though, a Rider-Waite-Smith clone style of deck. So it's really easy to read if you're familiar with the Rider-Waite-Smith, like Pamela Coleman Smith type of imagery. And it's just really, really gentle. It has a fun energy. And this is my first edition copy. I have a second edition that I've trimmed down to be borderless. I also have a travel edition. But since I'm going to be doing a birthday spread for myself as part of our samples here, I thought that I would pull in my beloved first edition. So this is what the Mons Tarot looks like. Now you can currently buy the Mons Tarot in a travel size, which is lovely. This is slightly oversized as decks go, and the travel edition is a lovely, just slightly smaller than standard tarot size version of the deck. So I will have a link to the decks we're working with today down below. But even more exciting, and I have a little bit of a confession, I also have here the Little Bug Oracle deck. Now, I mentioned that I wasn't going to back this. I actually anti-hauled this deck, or did I just mention? Yeah, I think I anti-hauled it. As much as I love the Mons Tarot, I really hesitated with the Little Bug. I'm so picky about Oracle decks, and I've been especially picky lately, and that's definitely a me thing. But this is a deck by the same creator, Joanna Nelson, who created the Mons Tarot, and this was just Kickstartered. She has this on her Etsy shop now available to purchase, but Joanna very lovingly sent this to me as a gift, which was very, very kind of her. She did reach out to make sure that I didn't actively dislike it. I didn't. I was just hesitating because I wasn't sure if it was going to affect my relationship with the Mons Tarot and how I work with it. I also wasn't entirely sure if I completely resonated with all of the keywords, but I have a little confession about that as well. So it did come with some little bits of swag that I thought I would open and share with you guys here. So it came with a little pin, which is so cute, and has, of course, this card art on it, which is my favorite of the deck. It's the blanket card, and look at this adorable little button. So cute. So I'm going to just set that to the side. And then it also came with some bookmarks. Joanna has done bookmarks with her campaigns before, and her bookmarks are all over my house. They're everywhere, and I love them. So we have the chakra card, the float by card or floating by card, and the swing. Oh wait, no, these are multiple. Float by and soar. Chakra, I can't remember what that one would be called. And then we have me time and swing. And the reason I know these card names by heart now, which is kind of surprising, is because I've done a little bit of work with the Little Bug, which I'm going to share with you. And I know we're taking a little segue before we get into the sort of heart of the video, which is when we break down the reading. But I also kind of wanted to have an excuse to show you guys this deck and also what I've done with it, because I have sort of jailbroken, I don't know, the deck for myself a bit, and I wanted to share that with you. So this also came with some delightful stickers, which y'all know I am a major fan of Joanna's artwork, and these stickers are great. And these are here so that you can actually decorate. You can do whatever you want with them, but you can decorate your box, which I think is so cute. So I'm probably going to do that a little bit later, but that's fun. That's going to happen. Okay, but oh, what else do we have here? Hold on. We also have a couple of prints. Oh my God, that's exciting. And she signed that one for me. Yay. Thanks, Joanna. These are so pretty. Okay, so I also have Joanna's artwork everywhere, but we have the blanket card here, and I believe this is the friendship card. So that's super fun. That's super fun. Okay, so I'm going to set those aside. So let me talk through what I've done with my deck. Now, this is something that I think is actually really helpful for beginners and actually sort of springboards off of my Tarot with Training Wheels series. And by the way, I will link up in the cards the Tarot with Training Wheels playlist. It's a great place to start if you're brand new to tarot. Definitely this video series I hope is also helpful for beginners, but if you're really starting from scratch, I definitely recommend you start with Tarot with Training Wheels, so I'll link that up in the cards. And if you want to go even deeper into that sort of brand new beginner place, then I definitely recommend Tarot Bootcamp for Beginners, which is a course I have on my website, so I will also link that for you. But in any case, in Tarot with Training Wheels, I actually take you all through a process where you go through a tarot deck and you assign each one a keyword. And so I take you through that process. I share my favorite keywords. And the idea is that you write the keyword actually on the card, and you can then later on remove that with remover, or you can trim it off, or you can use, you know, there's lots of things people have done. I think some people have used washi tape and other tricks. But when I got Little Bug, and I'll just zoom you in so you can kind of see what I've done here. When I got Little Bug in and I went through the deck, I realized that I really needed to sort of make it my own. So I went through the guidebook, I went through the cards, and I came up with, or I pulled from the guidebook, keywords that I felt like tied into the card for me, and I added them using a micron pen, which is I found out is a permanent marker. So here, for example, in the Moonlight card, I added intuition and mystery. And then in this Cave card, I added self-acceptance and shadow work. In the Signs card, I added decisions and confusion, and I tried to sort of just tuck it into the artwork. So here I have Feed Your Soul in the Nutrition card. Oops. I have Escape in the Swing card, and this is a very personal keyword for me, specifically to do with swinging and swing sets. And then I have Rise Above It in Hanging. Here I have Perseverance and Perspective in the artwork there for Climb. And so this has really made this deck really workable for me in a way that is personalized. Here we have Invitation and Confidence in the Adventure card. That's the one that was on the bookmark that I couldn't remember. Ah, this is Friendship. Gosh darn it. Okay, so this is Support and Companionship is what I added. Self-Care is what I wrote on the book here. And so forth and so on. And now I'm curious, what was that card with the 2 bugs? But this is a delightful deck, and it's made to literally exist in the same world as the Mons Tarot. So it's a beautiful companion, and I've played with it a bunch actually before I filmed this video. So I've already built a bit of a relationship with it. Ah, there it is, Laughter. That's right. So here I added Lighten Up right there under this silly flower. So fun. So this is what we're going to be doing. These are the decks, first of all. So now we've kind of gone over those. Let's talk about the spread. So we're going to be doing a 5-card spread today, and I'm going to aim for at least 2 sample readings, one for myself and then one for a pretend querent. And sometimes that pretend querent reading will resonate with somebody who watches this video. That's great. If it resonates, then it is obviously a message meant for you. But this is a 5-card spread, and what we're going to be doing, and the spread, by the way, is called the Happy Birthday Spread, and I found this online, and it looked like it was originated from a website, mywanderingfool.com, so I will have the exact link to where I found the spread down below. I'm not entirely sure if this is original source for the spread or not, but I want to give credit where I found it, because because that's what I want to do. So, it has 5 card positions. So you have position 1 is last year, position 2 is let go of this, position 3 is the gift, position 4 is embrace this, and position 5 is next year. So what I've planned to do is use the Little Bug Oracle as the gift position, which will sit up here at the top center of the spread. So I'm going to set the deck aside at first. And then I'm going to be doing the other 4 positions with tarot, which is a really fun way. If you see a spread that you really like, it's fun to kind of designate a position that makes sense to you to use Oracle as Oracle and then use the other positions as tarot. And this is yet another fun way that we can begin to mix tarot and Oracle together. So that is what we're going to do. And I'm going to start out focusing on my birthday because I just had it at the time of filming this. So this video is coming out a little bit after my birthday, but that is the spirit in which I wanted to do this first sample spread. I will say I do really love the cardstock of the first edition Mons Tarot. It's just a bit bendier. Mine's also pretty broken in, so that's probably part of it, but it has a little more sheen and it's a little less stiff, and I really love it. It riffles beautifully, even though it's big. All right, so looking at the 4 positions. Last year, let go of this, embrace this, and next year. That's what we're going to be pulling from this particular deck. So one more shuffle, really focused, and then I'll draw my cards. All right, so we have position 1, 2, 4, and 5. Getting a little bit of glare on this guy right here, so I may shift my light a bit. Give me 1 second. Ah, that helped quite a bit. And lastly, I'm going to use the Oracle deck to pull the gift position. So this is the Little Bug Oracle for our gift position. This feels a lot more, the cardstock of the Little Bug feels a lot more like the first edition Little Mons Tarot to me. It's got a little more bend. It's not quite as soft, but I don't know if that's a breaking in thing, but it feels, it's also a thinner deck, so it's easier to shuffle. But it does feel like it has more bend than the Mons Tarot 2nd edition. All right. Focusing in on what's my gift for my birthday from the Little Bugs. What gift do they have for me? Oh, that's really interesting because I've been using this deck, these 2 decks together. Not my first edition. I was actually using the 2nd edition this week, but I've been using these 2 decks together this past week. And ironically, this card was my daily pull today as well. So it just feels really meaningful to me because I feel like that is something that it's feeling cohesive. When you start to get the same card over and over again, particularly from the same deck, it starts to feel really, really meaningful. At least it does for me. So let's talk through these positions and let's see how it all unfolds. And I like to read in real time. So I like to begin by just sort of taking everything in and seeing if anything jumps out at me big picture wise. And there's not a ton of cards on the table, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time there. But I'm not seeing like a major weight of any one element over the others. And so with that, I'm going to walk through the positions now. So the first position is last year. And here we have the 3 of Wands. And this makes a lot of sense because I feel like the last year, since my last birthday, I've spent a lot of time sort of forward looking and beginning new things, trying new things, starting new things. There's been a lot of that kind of energy, I feel like. And also the feeling that I'm well underway with things. I feel like in the 3 of Wands, we've already sort of made a decision. We began going down a path and we're really starting to put lots of irons in the fire, send lots of ships out to come back to us. There's a lot of sort of beginning energy and there's a lot of manifesting that we're actually doing, which is so interesting considering this card, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So I feel like that's the energy I've been in, which has been really great. The next card up is something I need to let go of. And here we have the High Priestess. I often think of the High Priestess as somebody who holds knowledge really close to her. She kind of, what's jumping out at me in this moment, because I think of the High Priestess as a keeper of secrets in a way, or a keeper of spiritual knowledge, a keeper of, she often has a scroll or a book or something that she's holding close. In this case, she doesn't have that actual book, but she does have this connection to the moon, to intuition, to, I think, sometimes psychic ability as well. And so I'm thinking of all of those things. But what's really jumping out at me, or what I was originally thinking when I first picked this up and started speaking about her, was this idea of sort of hoarding knowledge. And this is something I need to release. I have a habit of not hoarding knowledge, maybe that's a little too strong of a term, but I certainly have a habit of overthinking what I have to share and then holding myself back until it feels perfect or ready. I mean, this is where my perfectionism shows up. And I feel like the High Priestess is like, nope, we need to like uncurl the scroll and share. And that's timely because I am in the process of working on a new course that I'm really excited about. And it's had a lot of like, I've had to push through a lot of inner critic stuff because it's course material that goes into a very off-roading kind of place, right? Where it's non-structured as a topic, and therefore it has been difficult for me to corral, and I've certainly gotten in my own way about it. And I think the High Priestess is like, stop hoarding the knowledge, just get it out there. Like, stop worrying about it being like, matching somebody else's idea of what it's supposed to look like. So that feels really resonant for me. The gift. And here we have wish. And the key word I added to this card, ironically, is the word manifest. I put it right up here by this dandelion fluff. And this makes a lot of sense because I feel like a lot of what I do is, as I mentioned before, I have a tendency to get in my own way. And I think the gift from the last year is recognizing that I can manifest my desires. I can put myself out there in different ways. I can try new things, and that, when I do that, I often feel like it's well received. It's just getting myself past that point of like holding myself back. And so this feels like a gift from the past year, and it really, really makes sense to me. Moving on to this card, we have something to embrace in the coming year, and this is so on point. This is our Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles is somebody who really focuses on his goal and just takes one step at a time. He puts one foot in front of the other. Here, we could imagine they're picking these carrots up out of the ground, and they're just very slowly, just one at a time, and they're working together, and they're supporting one another. Him and his companion here, this like sort of unit elephant sort of deal, monster creature. And this really resonates because, again, see previous about perfectionism. And the Knight of Pentacles is like, as you move into the coming year, just remember to put one foot in front of the other. Just remember that you don't have to like reach the destination quickly. You just need to reach it in a way that feels good. And the way that we do that is by just continuing forward on our path. And that's kind of what I'm feeling from this card. And so far, very meaningful messages. And my favorite card, and those of you who've watched my channel for a while know this, the Nine of Cups is not a significator, which is a card that you feel like represents you, but it's a card, it's my favorite card to pull because the Nine of Cups is, to me, a really good kind of summary of what it feels like to be genuinely happy and content and to feel like you have enough of all the things you need in your life from a emotional fulfillment place. So this is a card that to me represents satisfaction and emotional contentment and fulfillment in all of those good, juicy ways. That's not always about material success, but is often about that deeper feeling of, wow, I'm really in the right place at the right time. And this is my card that I pulled for next year, which couldn't be more beautiful for a reading, in a birthday reading. So let me recap. So last year was all about sort of putting irons in the fire and beginning things, which is very, very true. And the thing I need to let go of is sort of hoarding that knowledge, feeling like I can't just share it freely, because I do want to do that. And that's something I strive to do here on the channel too, is just be as generous with the knowledge as I can and not get in my own way. And it's really easy for me to do that when I'm just making videos for you guys. But the moment I try to really create structure around it, it gets a little bit, my imposter syndrome gets in the way. Like, who am I to, share stuff like this? But at the end of the day, I do have years and years and years of working with tarot, and I feel like I have really kind of forged my own way in a lot of ways and kind of gone my own route. And so that's what I bring. And I need to remind myself that that's the unique voice that I think I add to the conversation. And there's more than that, but I feel like I sell myself short sometimes, and I sort of hold things tight to me like I'm not allowed to share them, and I am. And I think that's a good reminder of something I need to let go of. And then the wish card as my gift, this manifest, especially combined, when we look at the gift of manifestation with this emotional fulfillment, it's like I just need to stay focused. Like, this is my next year's card, right? And my gift from this year is the ability to manifest and really, make my dreams come true. And I feel like that's really predicted in this final card. And then lastly, embracing the idea that I just take one step at a time. So that's how I would kind of put all this together in a reading. And so I have this really beautiful message for myself based on my own birthday. And now let me pick up these cards and we'll do a sample reading for a pretend querent. That could be one of you guys. So if you have had a recent birthday especially, this could be a meaningful message for you, or it might not feel right. And just trust yourself, because at the end of the day, it's whether it feels true for you that matters, not whether, it just happens to line up, right? So pay attention, and if the messages feel like they're meant for you, then maybe just take some time to consider them and take on what feels helpful to you to take on. So let's name our pretend querent. I'm going to go with Jackie today. So we're going to call our pretend querent Jackie. And Jackie just had a birthday. So let's pull the cards for Jackie's birthday. So again, we're looking at last year, let go of this, embrace this, and next year. Last year, let go of this, embrace this, and next year. Last year, let go of this. Big cards already. Embrace this. Next year. I feel like I need to shift where things are just a little bit, but I'll bring the cards in so we don't have to worry too much about glares. Okay. Perfect. Now let's see what Jackie's gift is. Whoa, let's not dump my cards everywhere. Okay. What is Jackie's gift? Ah, yes. All right. Jackie's got some work to do. Let's talk about it a little bit. So just like before, let's take a moment to just notice the balance of the spread. And the first thing that jumps out at me is we have 1, 2, 3 out of 4 of the tarot cards are major arcana cards. Now, as a reader, that often tells me that major arcana cards to me signify big, momentous, or larger, or more meaningful, or more impactful messages. So a lot of times the major arcana speaks to sort of our spiritual journey, our life's journey, our work in the world, the ways in which we show up day to day, and where we kind of are on our path. So it's more like big picture stuff, which is very appropriate for birthday reading. And in fact, I could definitely see doing a reading like this specifically with a majors only deck, because I think you could get some really potent messages. And I say that as somebody who can think of ways sometimes to use majors only decks, but never does it. And a majors only deck, if you don't know, is a deck that is comprised only of the 22 major arcana cards. But in any case, let's get on to Jackie's reading. So majors are playing a big part. I'm really paying attention right now. So let's start over here. We're just going to read through it and see where we end up. So card 1 is last year. So last year for Jackie, we see the Lover's card. And the first thing that really jumps out at me with the Lover's card is the idea of commitment. Often a big decision and an ensuing commitment as a result of that decision. Sometimes we often think, I should say stereotypically, we think of the Lovers as a relationship or love decision, which is sometimes the case, right? Traditionally, the Lover's card was about who you are choosing to marry or spend the rest of your life with and how that's going to impact your life over the long term. But to me, that's an allegory or a archetype for the idea of big decisions that you then are committed to, right? Like the outcome of them. So this can come about with job changes. This can also come about with moves, physical moves on where you live, but a big decision that required a long-term commitment. And I feel like that was really the defining event or situation in Jackie's life over the past year, was a big decision that resulted in a long-term commitment. And so the consequence of that, I feel like, is that there was some upheaval. And I say that because the very next card, something that Jackie needs to let go of, is the Tower card. And this is really interesting because the Tower card is all about the ways in which an idea, a set sort of belief, or a situation in our life has become a solid structure, and that solid structure has been disintegrated. It has been destroyed. That process of destruction or of unmaking in our lives is really, really potent and powerful, but it's falling into the let go of this spread, right? Or position in the spread. And so that tells me that Jackie may have had a big piece of upheaval that also happened last year. So I feel like big decision, big commitment, and something that she believed about herself, or perhaps something that was happening in her life as a result of this big decision, this big commitment, something was unmade in that process. And I often think of this sometimes as like Jenga, right? If you know the game Jenga, where you have all the blocks, you pull out a piece of the Jenga puzzle. That was a decision you made. You're now committed to the consequence of that decision. And in her case, there was a consequence that something did come crumbling down. It's not always a bad thing, though. Sometimes we make a decision, say, to go to a new job, and then something happens to that job. Let's say we go to the new job, we think it's going to be our forever job, and we find out it's awful. That's a real frying pan into the fire situation. But sometimes when we leave the original job, we go to the new job, it all falls apart. It's all a big mess. And we're really agonizing about that and maybe feeling bad, like we made a wrong decision. But as a result of this second job, the one we moved to, not working out, all of a sudden we are now unemployed. Just come with me on this little journey. This is just pretend. I'm not saying this is what the reading is about. I'm just saying this is one possible scenario that this could be pointing to. But in this situation, you've gone from the frying pan into the fire. Now you're kicked out of the fire, right? You're not at that job anymore. So now you've left a job and you've also lost a job. And then what happens is that we spend all of this time in regret, like, oh, I made the wrong decision. I shouldn't have done that. But then what happens if now that you're unemployed, you've planted some seeds to start your own business, or perhaps because of this, you're now open for the next really, really good job, you know? So in that sort of situation, we can see how this could be a really, really, really positive thing. Because the Tower is in the position of something you need to let go of for Jackie, it tells me that she's clinging too hard still to the remnants of whatever was crumbling down, right? Now, in Jackie's case, I do think there's a chance that something that she's been going through, something commitment-wise, has led to a bit of burnout. I really get the feeling by the other cards, and we're going to talk about that, but I get the feeling that what's happened here is that Jackie made a commitment, perhaps something that she got a little over her head, right? Not necessarily a bad choice, but one that resulted in some other things falling apart, a little bit of an issue with not being able to keep all the balls in the air, so to speak. And so I feel that, and I partly feel that because of what she needs to embrace. So she's letting go of the Tower, but she'll be embracing embracing the Four of Swords. More on that in a moment. So this is where we're at right now with the spread. We've kind of gone through these two cards. And I hope that just by talking through what I'm getting from these cards, you're getting an idea of how I'm putting them together. But I'm really looking at the card in relation to its position and its relation to other things I already see on the table. And I see a story kind of unfold. And that's part of the excitement of reading for me. Let's talk about the gift, because this obviously informed some of what I'm seeing here. So the gift we have is the climb card. And the words that I added here are perseverance and perspective. Our little bug in this situation is climbing up this tall mountain, and it takes commitment to do that, right? We're climbing this tall mountain, and the idea is that when we get to the top, or this hill, whatever it is, when we get to the top with our lamp and our little lightning lit up ladybug friend, we're going to get to the top and we're going to have a new view. We're going to be able to see more. We're going to have a bigger picture perspective. And that is the gift for Jackie from this past year. So it tells us, okay, so you made a choice. Maybe it didn't pan out the way that you thought, and you're holding on to that as a form of regret and perhaps even doubting yourself and doubting your decisions. But at the end of the day, this is all part of the journey for you, and it was all part of getting you to a place where you could have a better perspective of what's going on. And I think part of Jackie's perspective is maybe recognizing when she's taking on too much or saying yes more often than she perhaps should. Because our very next card, what she needs to let go of is the Four of Swords, or excuse me, what she needs to embrace is the Four of Swords. And this is a card very much about rest, about recuperation, about taking a moment to sort of get your bearings before you jump back in the fray. The Four of Swords is a card of peace and quiet and stillness amid all of the growth and expansion and chaos, because the Three of Swords, the card that lives here in the tarot right before it, is about growth that's often painful, expansion that's often difficult, that sort of thing. And the card that lies on the other side of this is the Five. And the Five of Swords is often about conflict, and often really unpleasant conflict. And so right in the center, we have the Four of Swords, this sort of calm, or in the eye of the storm is one way to look at this card. And so that tells me when it comes to embracing for Jackie, we're moving away from, like, let go of clinging to this tower. Like, the tower's happened. It's already crumbled. It's done. You can't change it now. And rather than clinging to regret and disappointment, instead step into a place where you recognize the need for peace and stillness and reflection. So I see a very kind of busy last year with a lot of maybe big decisions and big changes leading to where Jackie's going into, I keep bumping my camera, sorry. Where Jackie's going into is a space where she really needs to move into more rest, a little bit more space to breathe and to think clearly, maybe not making as quick of decisions, really sitting with things, really coming into that inner voice. And then from there, we have our final card, which is next year. Next year, she's moving into a moon year. So last year was a lover's year, according to this reading, right? Last year was a lover's year. It was about big decisions and commitments. Next year, though, this is the moon year. This card, the moon, is often about the unseen, but it's also about facing fears. There's this idea of moving down this path where you're flanked by the wild creature, the wolf often in this card, and the docile or the domestic creature, the dog. And this little crawfish coming out of this water represents that rising up of knowledge from the subconscious. So there's a lot happening in the moon card. But one of the things I feel like this is about is facing fears and also moving through the unknown. The moon casts the world in a different kind of light. It's a different view for sure. And remember, the gift was to be a climb towards a different view. The moon asks Jackie to, in the coming year, step into some of the unknowns, maybe not have everything so perfectly planned, to recognize that she may not always know what's around the next corner. And that can be okay. There can be really big growth and expansion at the end of this path, but you have to sort of move through a little of the discomfort, move through a little bit of the unknowns in order to get there. And so that is what I'm seeing for Jackie. We have sort of coming out of, I think, a year with a lot of big decisions and maybe some big upheaval and some changes, needing to kind of allow the past to stay in the past, recognize that the gift is that she's been moving towards having a better perspective, a bigger picture view of her life, but to really get the most out of that gift, she needs to embrace peace, stillness, taking her time to come to decisions, taking her time to think through how she feels so that she can grow and continue to expand. And then finally into the moon card for her next year tells us that she's going to be moving through maybe some less clearly laid out paths, right? Things might feel a little bit more confusing or a little bit more unsure. And that shakiness she might be feeling is going to lead her to some interesting insights and growth in the coming year. Nothing here to me screams like a bad reading for Jackie. We have acknowledgement of maybe some difficulties she's had over the past year, but some really clear indications that she's moving in the right direction and to just prepare herself to move through some unknowns in the coming year. So that is how I would break that down for our pretend querent Jackie. And if pretend Jackie is watching this video right now and your name is not Jackie, that's fine. But if you're out there watching and this really resonated with you, definitely feel free to share that with us down below. It's not uncommon. In fact, most of the time when I do these videos, we have several people who the reading really resonates for. So it could be that that's really hitting home. And if it is, take the messages that really feel meaningful and run with them, because that's where we have opportunities for even more growth and more knowledge. I hope that these videos continue to serve and continue to be helpful. I really enjoy them, and I feel like they're something that can just kind of be here for people who are trying to put their tarot knowledge to use in practical readings and in spreads. And this little birthday spread was a lot of fun to do. I feel like I got a meaningful reading for myself out of it, which I'm going to watch back when I'm editing and do some journaling about. But the Little Bug Oracle was a delight to work with. And of course, my Mom's Tarot is always, always, always a delight to work with. So that was really fun to be able to sort of bring these decks out to play together on this video. And thank you again to Joanna for sending me the Little Bug. It was very, very sweet of her. And I am charmed, especially now that I have sort of personalized it and made it my own. So that's really exciting. Next step is definitely stickers. In fact, I'm going to put them in the box so I don't forget. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, extra big thank you to the Unicorn Fam, my channel members. You guys really help support what I do in really tangible ways, and I appreciate that so, so, so much. And to all of you watching this video, thank you for your likes and your comments and your subscribes. Those all help the channel so much, and I most of all appreciate that you spend your time here and that you put your eyeballs on these videos, because that is what makes this fun for me to do. Thank you all so, so much, and may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye, guys.